Hi everyone, Bess McCarty, Victoria, Kansas. This is the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, brought to you by the MLM Millionaire Academy, our generic school for network marketers. This show is a free generic teaching of a different book, a different personal growth book that we cover each month. And one of our favorite authors is John Maxwell. Today the book is Winning with People, which has some incredible tips for communicating, for being a success in business, life, and relationships, all of that. It said that every problem is really a communication problem. So there's some valuable, just golden tips in this book. Today the principle is the chapter is called the Bob Principle. If Bob has a problem with people, maybe Bob is the problem. So I'm going to be covering that in a moment. And want to welcome to Corey. How are you, Corey? Hey. What's the weather like there in San Diego? Hey, Jeff. And Jeff is sharing over to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. So you can watch this show from over there too. Catch this show every Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And usually this show most often is presented by Jeffrey David Gamble, who just joined us here, and by Brandy Pember. So you can find that at the Facebook group, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. That group exists for MLM leaders, and there's over 500 really incredible people there if you'd like to find other really wonderful network marketing leaders. So just a little bit about the school, our generic school for network marketers, the MLM Millionaire Academy. Our purpose of that school and of these shows is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. And we love sharing. We love helping people succeed in network marketing. The school itself teaches how to talk to people and be the best bridge to watching the video, to recruiting people that I've ever seen in network marketing. It has a super indirect script we call the asking a favor script. And we teach to do a 10-minute presentation before you send someone to the video. Then your chances of people watching the video go from 30% to about over 90%. So these are some of the key signature things that I'm very happy and proud to be teaching in the MLM Millionaire Academy. I'll post a link for it, but right now I could tell you that the school link itself is mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics, and I'll post the link, mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics, so you can check it out. If you would like a reminder before each of these shows where we cover a personal growth book every weekday, just text me, private message me here on Facebook, and let me know that you want to be added to my text list, and I'll be glad to do that. And if you're watching the replay, please type in replay, because I want to thank you for that. Also love to hear your tips and takeaways and have this be an interactive live. So the book Winning with People, John Maxwell. About every month we switch books to a new personal growth book, and this is the one we're on now. Again, it's like gold. So far in the book we have covered are we prepared for relationships? Are we willing to focus on others? And now, are we building mutual trust? So this is a chapter from that one. Oopsie. Yeah, from can we build mutual trust? Now, the Bob Principle, again. When Bob has a problem with everyone, Bob is usually the problem. This is an uncomfortable chapter for me to look at, because it means being honest with myself and looking at myself. You know, if I can blame the whole world, is that valid? And John Maxwell says, you know, most of the world, with the exception of one person, is made up of other people. So why not get that other viewpoint? I am a stubborn Scorpio with an ego who can believe my way is right. So it's a hard look at myself to take a look at maybe even ask somebody that you trust, ask your spouse or coworker that you trust or somebody to give you feedback on how you're doing. That takes a lot of courage, I think, and humility and willingness to put the good of other people ahead of myself. We don't like to look at ourselves, so we don't like to find the fault in here. We like to be out there, because when the fault's in here, If I do not have enough self-esteem, or I've been shaming myself already, if I find that the fault is inside me, then I might feel bad. I might be putting myself down. So I think that a test of self-esteem is, can I really take an honest look at myself? I think they go hand in hand. As a body-mind therapist, I should say, I'm speaking from the seat of a body-mind therapist, holistic for 30 years, holistic health practitioner, counselor, coach, worked with hundreds of people, taught 15 years at Body Mind College, training coaches and counselors. And now I bring this work to network marketers, especially. They call me the shrink of MLM because I love and have helped hundreds of people to get past fears and negative beliefs. But guess what? I'm still working on myself. I'm still a work in progress. Just the other day, had a talk with my ex, who I thought I was helping, but it turned out that he was pointing out some things for me to look at. Not easy, but I'm thankful that he did, because I care more about having good relationships and being a good helper in life than hanging on to my own selfish viewpoints and my egotistical way of saying, well, I'm right and everybody else is wrong. So not easy, not easy. That's why not everybody embraces personal growth work. I have a friend who joked with me one time. He's very much into personal spiritual growth, but one time he said to me, he goes, what do you do again? I said, personal growth work, coaching, counseling with people. And he goes, personal growth, I tried it once, didn't like it. He's not alone. It takes courage, right? So this is this chapter's about. It's about how to deal with negative people, but I'm going to also turn around and say how to look at ourselves. And would like to welcome Gustavo and Shamala. And she says thank you. Shamala's always here. She's always thanking us. Thank you, girl. Follow Shamala. She's a real incredible person. Successful business lady, entrepreneur, smart, kind, loving, spiritual, mother, grandmother like I am. But she has more grandkids than me. Okay, so with this chapter, I'm going to start out just sharing with you what John Maxwell has. And he said, of course, when Bob has a problem with everyone, Bob is usually the problem. And he says, all seems infected. Alexander Pope said this. All seems infected to the infected spy, and all looks yellow to the jaundiced eye. So however I'm seeing the world, especially at this time of the pandemic, is everything bad and rotten, and everyone is evil intentions, or is this all a conspiracy, or is there any truth to it? How am I looking at the world? And could this be the lens that I'm seeing the world with? What is my camera lens like? Is it a rose-colored one? Is it a clear one? Is it shaded in any way? Is it shaded by my own prejudices? My camera lens is really my eye, right? So what is my eye made of? That I'm seeing everybody in the world. Everybody does this. Everybody says this. Everybody doesn't like me. Everybody's wrong but me. What is the lens that I'm looking at with? And John Maxwell says, the question I must ask myself is, am I Bob? Now he starts out with a story about Billy Martin, who was fired as the manager of the New York Yankees in 1988. And he said what's unusual is that this was his 5th time. It seems that Billy Martin kept getting hired, fired, and rehired because his teams won, but it came with a huge price of dealing with him because he had a fiery temperament, and he was in lots and lots of fights. He was a player first, then he became a coach and manager, but he was in lots of fights in nightclubs and on the team, and it seemed like everywhere he went, trouble followed. There was fights and insobriety for years. His teams almost always won, but they said the price of having him was just too much. And John Maxwell says Billy Martin is a perfect example of what he calls the Bob principle. And he said if Bob has problems with all these people, then Bob is usually the problem. But it's interesting that Billy Martin never indicated that he had a problem with how he conducted himself. And that people would say, why did you get fired all these times? And he'd say, well, because I'm not a yes man. The world is full of yes men. So he never saw himself, as, the drinking and the fighting as a problem. He saw the other people as a problem. And you can't really change people who are set on holding on to a certain viewpoint. People can't change me if I'm set on holding on to a certain viewpoint. That person has to be ready. They have to be humble enough, and they have to be ready, and usually have a why. Like for me, it's usually because I'll look at myself because I care about someone else. I was just talking with a friend yesterday about all the personal growth work we've done over the last 30 years. I mean, from S to Fisher Hoffman to, the deepest processes over and over, and tons of personal growth work and everything. And you know what? We both said that it takes so much courage and humility to face ourselves, and willingness and all that, because you see things you don't like, and then you feel bad about yourself. It takes courage to admit. And again, my idea is you must have a good self-esteem built in to be able to weather that. But both of us realized that we did this personal growth work not just for ourselves, but for a bigger purpose, to be able to help other people. Of course, I'm a body-mind therapist for 30 years, and I've coached and counseled hundreds and hundreds of people. So initially, when I went through my own initial clearing and intense work that I did at Body Mind College in San Diego over 30 years ago, we did the ropes course, Fisher Hoffman, all sorts of intense NLP, all sorts of intense processes. And the reason that I had the courage to do that was because not just for me, but for all the hundreds of people that I would be helping. That gave me the courage to do it. Some people do it for their family, for their careers, for all the people that they will be influencing as a speaker, author, coach. They know they have a mission, they're called to a mission. So the only way is to do their own personal growth work and actually speak from that confidence and experience that you have. That's what gives us confidence. And we're able to help people as we do our own work, right? And nobody can lead somebody else where they haven't gone before. So welcome, Nancy Siegel. Glad to see you. And if anybody would like to tell me where they're watching from, I'd love to hear that. What's the weather like where you are? I'm in Victoria, Kansas, Midwestern, sort of the center of the state of Kansas, and it's kind of overcast and cloudy here. Kind of a coolish spring, although we have a few hot days. We did get 3 inches of rain the other day, so it sort of broke our drought cycle. So it was cool. And welcome, Annie. Glad to see you. Welcome, Annie, Everest Stream. So more tips from John Maxwell. He said how to recognize a Bob, which is kind of a problem-carrying person, or even a problem-creating person. So this describes Bob. Essentially it's the negative person who doesn't really want to look at themselves. He says Bob is a problem carrier. The Bobs of the world carry around problems, and those problems affect others. Bob is a problem finder. It seems like if you bring somebody like this, or have someone like this in an organization, they're always pointing out the negative and pointing out the problems. Bob is a problem creator. And Bob is a problem receiver, that things keep happening to them. Of course, as a inner child therapist and a body-mind therapist, I understand where these come from, and we can look back usually in childhood 90% of the time and find out that their role models, the things that they heard growing up, can set the pace. What they see their parents do or people around them, and what we hear really form the computer programming that determines our lens, our attitude, our mind, our emotions, and what we create in our lives. So these things, the bad news is everyone got exposed to some dysfunctional training. The good news is we can go back and change it and help that. And that is what I've dedicated the last 30 years and the rest of my life to doing, working on myself. So I'm not a problem carrier like Bob, problem creator, problem infector, infecting other people. So Nancy says it's sunny in Wisconsin. All right. Alrighty. Thank you for letting me know where you are and what it's like there. I just feel connected with everybody that way. And I do thank you for your likes and loves that you hit here. And also I thank you for sharing with other people, because maybe someone can use a personal growth boost today. They say successful people do 30 to 60 minutes of personal growth, and the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, here every Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, is a way to easily get your personal growth in. You know, you could be sitting and listening, you could be walking, exercising, preparing food, any of that, or having lunch or breakfast, wherever you are. And it's an easy way to get in your personal growth and to get a kind of a reader's digest of this book. And I'll also post a link where you can get the cliff notes of that. Jeffrey David Gamble has taken notes. He's such a good student and teacher, taken notes on all these books, and he's offered to share them. So I will post that link too. So back to Bob. What do you do with people like this if you're around people who insist that it's everyone else, right? And they are a problem. I'm going to say it just like John Maxwell: problem carrier, problem finder, problem creator, problem receiver. What do you do? Thank you for the loves, appreciate it. So what do you do if you're around a person like this? And I call them like a negative person. What you can do is you can catch them. This is a tip from my teacher. You can catch them saying something positive and make a comment about, or ask them about that, right? Catch them saying something positive, and then ask them a question about that. So now they're in a positive mode or focus, going down a positive street. And then the next thing you hear them say about something positive, ask them about that, and ask them more about that. Like, you know, if they're enjoying something in their life, or they had a good lunch today, what did they have for lunch? You know, ask them about that. Or you know, they accomplished something yesterday. They're happy, or someone visited them yesterday that they liked. Ask them about that. Tell me about that. How was that? Who visited you? You know, and what did you like about it? Ask them about the positive things. And John Maxwell says a similar thing. He said, when a negative person tries to drop a problem in your lap, respond with something positive. If the comments about the situation, try to find the bright side. So we try to steer the conversation in a positive direction. Number 2 tip that he gives is show your concern for someone being criticized. In other words, if someone is gossiping, criticizing someone else, we can say, gosh, you know, that might not, if that person heard that, they might not feel good about hearing that. Or I can say the positive about that. There's a person that I know who, a friend who criticized another person that I know. And so immediately I had the urge to say, yeah, but they are always efficient and helpful. Yeah, they may have a messy lawn, but they're efficient and they're helpful. Or they've always been honest with me, you know. And that person just was quiet, didn't say any more. Could probably tell that I was not wanting to hear the negative about that person. And when another person has started gossiping or complaining or criticizing another, I knew that they were on, you know, at first I would try to listen, just be a good listener. But then I just got tired of it, and I said, you know, I don't want to hear this about other people. And that person shut up and never tried to gossip to me about other people again. So, you know, my response is a boundary. You know, I switch it to the negative or say, I really don't want to hear that, to kind of protect my own consciousness, because otherwise I might think negatively about that person, and I don't want to. I already know they got negative stuff. We all do. I got negative stuff. Everybody's got negative stuff. And we all got positive. Why not focus on the positive and build that up and support and edify that? So that's how I'm trying to protect my consciousness, that I stay uplifted and I don't carry around negative thoughts about other people. So I don't want to hear the stuff. And that person respected it. He says also encourage steps toward resolution. Like if somebody really has an issue with somebody, the best person to talk to is not me. I can't help and fix that. The best person to talk to is, you know, what do you think about talking to that person? Because it sounds like this is between the two of you. And that person is the one who can help you to make a change if you want to. Direct them back to that person. And if you know Bob well enough, he has a fourth tip. Ask Bob to think before speaking. If you have, strong enough influence with Bob or connection, or in a position of authority, you can ask him to think before he speaks by using the acronym THINK. Think. And that can stand for T, is it true? H, is it helpful? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? And K, is it kind? And I did learn from my teachers that true, necessary, kind. But all of these things, before I speak, let me ask myself, is it true, helpful, inspiring, necessary, and kind? If not, maybe I don't want to say it, or maybe I want to rephrase it. So his final tip is keep Bob away from others. Try to isolate him. If he's on a team, if he's in your office, try to not let him, give him a position of speaking or being able to affect or infect others with the negativity, because negativity does spread. People pick up on it and repeat that. And we know that watching the news can depress us sometimes, right? So negativity does have an effect. It does have an emotional and mental effect on people. So he said, do damage control by isolating them the best that you can, and not having that like we're isolating, like pretend he's infected with the virus, and try to quarantine him as much as you can from other people. If he must be on you, if you cannot remove him from the team, if you can't or won't remove him from the team, and this happens to family members too sometimes, doesn't it? Right? You can't just divorce a family member sometimes. So we protect ourselves, try to protect other people. Now, he says, what if you're Bob? And I have my own little tip on this, and this is that I am Bob anytime I find a problem with somebody. And it doesn't have to be with everybody, but if I find a problem with somebody, if somebody really bugs me, if it gets under my skin, if it irritates me, if I can't stop thinking about it, if it keeps going through my mind, if I have a reaction, if I have a judgment about that person, if I have anger or fear connected with that person, somewhere inside me, that person is me. Hard to see again. Takes a lot of courage and self-esteem to see that, because I'd rather not look at myself. I'd rather point to them over and over. And recently I saw where I did that again. I didn't want to take responsibility for myself in a situation, because then I would have felt bad about myself. And the other person, we were sort of mutual responsibility. The other person didn't want to take responsibility for herself, because she would have felt she already felt bad, and if she would have taken responsibility for it, she would have felt really, really, really bad. So I wondered why she didn't bring it up or talk about it, and I realized it's because she already felt bad, and she didn't want to take any responsibility. So we were both in the same boat, blaming, pointing the finger at the other person. It's not easy, even for a therapist, even for a coach, to sometimes overlook stuff. And in the past, I've said, gosh, that person is, critical of that other person. That wouldn't feel good to be around. And then right away I saw myself being critical. Oh my gosh, that person's me. That person's being a mirror and showing me part of me. I am like that. All of a sudden I didn't judge that person anymore. I had compassion, because I thought, gosh, we're both learning this thing, So sometimes it takes me a few days to see something in another person, have a reaction about it, have a judgment about it. Sometimes it takes me a few days to see, that's in me too. Let me work on that. Let me sweep my own front door first before I go around trying to sweep other people's, judge them, think they should be better, or even avoid them. If it's not a big personality flaw, it's not real negative like Bob, let me tolerate that person, because I would want other people to tolerate me, or give way, or acceptance, accept. Make room for those things that I'm still working on. Not easy. And Nancy Siegel's good idea on how to deal with those situations. Whew. Okay, so John Maxwell says, what if you're Bob? His questions to ask. Do I experience some kind of conflict almost every day? Do people often rub me the wrong way? Do bad things just naturally happen to me? Do I have few friends and wish I had more? Do I always seem to say the wrong thing? Could be there's some room to learn here. He said the first thing is we have to admit that we're Bob. And then second, we have to want to change for some reason. He tells a funny story of a lady who was being tried for murder of her third husband. And the lawyer asked, what happened to your first husband? She says, he died of mushroom poisoning. How about your second? He died of mushroom poisoning too. What about your third? She said, he died of a brain concussion. The lawyer said, how'd that happen? She said, he wouldn't eat the mushrooms. So changing won't necessarily be easy. Studies have shown on the average home, for every positive statement, a child receives 10 negative. And in school, it's 7-to-1. They hear 7 negative statements for every one. And yet, they have shown that it takes 4 positive statements to counter 1 negative. So that's the environment. That's why people come to me for therapy to work on their childhood and how they can rewrite those programs which go into our subconscious and create our present and future lives. So we go into the subconscious and we change those. We can change that starting with our behavior. Let me say positive things. Let me smile. Let me monitor and stop the negative from coming out of my mouth and change it to a positive. Let me notice how I do this through the day. Let me ask other people to give me feedback. Tell somebody close to you your goals and ask, how am I doing? Am I improving? And we will, over time, with those goals and those practices and changing it. So use that think before I speak. Is it positive? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And some questions John Maxwell has to kind of thought questions to think about or discuss. Why is gossip so appealing to people, and how can you kindly stop someone from gossiping to you? I shared how I did it, but another way would be, gosh, when you talk about Nancy that way, I end up feeling really bad for Nancy and for me hearing it. I really would like to share about positive things with Nancy. Would you be willing to do that with me? And he says, if individuals insist on pointing out problems, what should you do? And what would happen if you ignore the behavior? Is it something to address or just something to turn away from and not give any attention or energy? And do you find it difficult or easy to give people the benefit of the doubt, assuming their motives to be good? And how will you conduct yourself in the future and why? So deep questions he always leaves us to think about, isn't it? Hope that this was helpful today. Do you have a takeaway that you got? Do you have something that you will use in your life? Something that you got benefit from today? I'd love to hear what it is, because that helps me to know what's valuable to you. So I'd love to hear it. Do you have any tips or comments or questions? I'd love to hear all of that too. Tomorrow is the celebration principle of the next chapter in this book, Winning with People, John Maxwell, which I've been sharing my notes from. The celebration principle, he says, the true test of relationships is not only how loyal we are when friends fail, but how thrilled they are when they succeed. Right? That's when we know that we really want the best for people, and that's a test of our friends too. So that's the celebration principle going to be tomorrow. Jeff and Brandy will be back on the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. You can watch it there or on Jeff's page. And they will be back tomorrow with this, the show of John Maxwell's Winning with People. This is kind of like a Reader Digest book club for you guys, and we love doing it. People find it really helpful if they don't have time to read the book, or they read the book and follow along. So you're welcome to do that. When you go to the Facebook group, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, you can see at the top that Jeff posted the next 4 books that we're going to get to. So what I did is I ordered them all on Amazon. I already had one. but I ordered them so that I can be reading along and so that I can be a speaker for this group too. Or you can just dial in and listen and get our take on all this too. So we'd love to have you. Remember that if you'd like a text reminder before each show, just private Facebook message me that you'd like me to include you, and I will. Lots and lots of people I do that for. And check out the Facebook group. There's nice things in there and wonderful people. MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. And if you like to check out our school who sponsors, our generic school for network marketers who sponsors this show, I'll post a link below. But you can simply go to mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics. mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics. We have a quick start basics class every Sunday night that we teach the favor script, the 10-minute presentation, how to recruit people, the fastest, easiest, most duplicated, most simple way I've ever seen. This method was evolved by Jeff, and we ended up teaching this together in the school. So we teach this in the 10 core commitments quick start basics class we have every Sunday night. It's insanely affordable, and we have people jumping ranks. And it warms our hearts. That's what keeps us going, is sharing this is really working for people. Not just us, but the people. I am a dedicated generic coach. I am simply teaching this, and I just love teaching and love seeing people succeed. So we'd love to have you join us. Check out the school, no contract or anything. And I think it will change your business. For the people who put into action, it's been 1,000 times back their time and energy that they put into the tuition. So love you guys, and welcome Deborah. Deborah's in the school. A number of people on here, Shamala, a number of people are in the school, and we're glad to have you. Please keep the discussion going below, leave the comments, and come back tomorrow for the next chapter in Winning with People. John Maxwell, come to the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Thank you for being here. I love you guys, and let's help people. Let's change the world. Starting with ourselves. Take care. Bye-bye.